Welcome to Cooking with Carolina Nephrology. I'm Dr. Blake Shusterman. Thank you for joining us so much today. We have a great recipe. We are going to be making a summer squash soup. Now, squash is not my favorite vegetable, but it is everywhere in the summer. It's easy to get, it's really inexpensive, and by the middle of the summer, I'm sure you'll have sautéed it, fried it, chopped it, grilled it, a million different ways, and if you're like me, by that time, you'll never want to taste another summer squash again. So this is a recipe that is different than that. It's a summer squash soup, and it's healthy, it's low sodium, it doesn't have a lot of fat in it, and it's got a lot of flavor and just a wholesome, delicious feel. And I think you'll really like it. It's very easy to cook. It should be okay for any diet that you have. A yellow squash is a kind of a medium potassium food, so if you're really worried about high potassium in your diet, you might just want to be a little careful, have a smaller serving. But it is really delicious and so easy. So let's get going. The base of this soup, actually we're going to start with leeks. And if you haven't cooked with leeks before, you should really try them. They are like an onion, but different. It's not as strong and really a distinctive flavor, but you have to cut them right. So I'm going to show you how to do it now, because if you don't cut them right, there is dirt in between all of these layers and you will get a gritty feel to your food, and we'll try to avoid that. So let's see how we do this right. So we've got two big leeks here. I already washed the outside, and I'm going to peel off the really thick layers on the outside, and you can already see, you can see the dirt that gets under there. Okay, this one's already okay. We're going to cut off the ends here. And then we are going to cut off kind of right here where it starts to go from yellow to green. Now the professionals say you're supposed to cut it kind of on an angle all the way around. So we've got our leek here. We'll do the same thing with the other one. So in between all of these layers is dirt. So we want to get rid of that, and the way to do it is you slice down the middle, kind of open them up here, and then you wash out the insides really good. Okay, now we've got our leeks nicely cleaned. We're just going to slice them, and we're going to put them in a Dutch oven with some oil, or earth balance in this case. And you just slice them nice and thin here. Okay, we've got our Dutch oven at medium-high heat, and I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of earth balance, or you can use olive oil. And as that's melting, we're going to add our leeks. And we're going to saute those leeks for about 5 to 10 minutes until they get soft. So while those leeks are sauteing, I'm going to prepare the herbs that we're going to use for the rest of the show. We've got some fresh thyme here. We're going to get a couple tablespoons of that. And now we're going to do my favorite part, which is add white wine to our leeks. Okay, and we are going to let that white wine boil all the way off so that it leaves the flavor, but no more alcohol. And the combination of the white wine and the leeks is really fantastic. This is really, I think, what gives the recipe the most flavor and really makes it worthwhile to eat yellow squash in the middle of the summer if you're trying to figure out a way to eat yellow squash. Okay, now that we've got our white wine that's boiled almost all the way down, but before the leeks start to burn, we're going to add a quart of low sodium vegetable stock and 4 cups of yellow squash chopped. So we are going to bring our yellow squash and our vegetable stock with the leeks to a boil. And I'm going to add to it about 2 tablespoons of fresh thyme that I've been peeling off here while that's been getting ready. Now that mixture is going to come to a boil, and it's going to simmer at a medium simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes until those squash get soft. And I'm going to finish up chopping the herbs that are going to garnish the final dish. So we're just going to use parsley. I like the Italian parsley, the flat leaf parsley. And I'm going to take a couple leaves off and mince them for the top. Okay, so we are going to take our squash that's nice and soft, and we're going to turn it into a blended soup using a Vitamix blender. You could use any strong blender to do that. You could also use an immersion blender. And what I found out just now from tasting the soup is if you wanted to eat it like it is with the chunky pieces of squash there, it's delicious. So you got lots of options to do it with. Okay, so we've got our beautiful blended squash soup here, and I'm going to go ahead and pour it into the bowl. And it is just a beautiful color. Now, I've made it a little bit more on the runny side. If you like it to be more of a chunky soup, you would just have to adjust the proportions and use a little more squash and maybe a little less vegetable broth at the beginning. Easy to do. Personal preference. Okay, so now we've got our beautiful squash soup, and we're going to top it with a couple things that really will make it stand out even more than it already is. So just a little chopped fresh parsley. Saw me do that earlier. We're going to spread that around. And this is my favorite part, is just a drizzle of olive oil, which really makes it taste so much richer. And voila, a delicious soup. Okay, now comes the taste. Thank you so much for joining us today on Cooking with Caroline and Nephrology. We hope you enjoyed the show and the recipe. The squash soup is delicious. You can follow us on Facebook, Cooking with Caroline and Nephrology. You can find me on Twitter at The Cooking Doc. We're always sharing fresh, delicious, healthy recipes, teaching you how to live a healthy lifestyle, and most importantly, making it taste good. Join us next time. Thank you.